Good morning and welcome to the April edition of the Lenovo x86 Virtual Users Group. Today we welcome our Worldwide Product Manager for xClarity, Chuck Weber. He's going to talk about the latest announcement and show us a little bit about xClarity and what it has to offer. I'd like to remind everybody that all calls are being muted as the call is being recorded for later playback. If you wish to ask any questions along the way, please utilize the chat window on the WebEx chat panel. At this time, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Chuck.
All right, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
All right, and can you see the screen?
Absolutely. We got the xClarity administrator up.
All right, perfect. All right. So before I get into the demo, I was just going to quickly go over what the product is and what our strategy is going forward. So before, when we were System X at IBM, we had IBM Director and FSM, and we still have that. We're going to continue to update it for at least until probably the end of 2016. Supported a lot longer than that. But when we moved over to Lenovo, Director and IBM FSM both stayed IBM IP. So we have rights to resell it, but even before we were moving over, we were looking for something different to go move new direction and go moving strategically, and this product is it. The other thing I want to point out is there's no Director or FSM code in this product. It is all Lenovo owned. It also is completely virtual appliance, so you don't have to actually have a slot taken up on your Flex chassis or anything like that. It's just an OVA that you can log in. Just log into your existing virtualization environment, and then it's also completely agentless. And the other thing I just wanted to quickly go over is our overall strategy. So our strategy with FSM and Director was more of a push everything down type strategy. And what I mean by that is, with the FSM, for example, your virtualization, your complete storage management, your whole network management pieces were pushed down into our layer. And what we found out, talking to customers, is they were still using the networking tools to go, the CLI on the network to go set up the switches. They were using the GUI for the storage to go do that. And what they, customers really wanted was a ability to take all this data and push it up into the level that you want to reside in. So that's probably the biggest change in this product. Is the screen that you're seeing here is just HTML5, and all it is doing a set of REST API calls. So there's literally nothing that you can't do in this product that can't be done through a REST API. And here in the next week, when it actually GAs on April 30th, we'll have a full list of documented, online, complete list of APIs for this product. And we also have a full set of PowerShell capabilities for this product as well. All right, so that kind of gets us into the beginning and the overall strategy. So what you're looking at here is the main screen for the xClarity administrator, and what I have open here is the Add Dashboard. If you brought it up for the first time, it's literally a series of 5 questions you got to go answer. Kind of where the networking piece like that, but I can't simulate that again. So, but it's actually quite easy to bring up. Some of the things that are new and interesting is if you look here, when I click on the hardware, the box kind of stays open. And the reason why we did that is it's actually tablet ready, so you can actually just click on hardware, choose on what piece you want to click on, and then if you decide that you don't want it, you can always click off of it. And there's also no right clicks on the product as well, right? So which also makes it tablet ready. And then if you go down to this middle section here, this is the actual hardware status, so you can see status of all your systems, your storage, your switches, your flex chassis, and your rack. And then down here below is actually the individual status. Right now, none of these are in warning or critical, but if they were, these would be yellow and red. So some of the feedback that we got through a series of multiple betas with this product was, if there's not a status on there, gray it out, so there's not a bunch of red and yellow on the screen. So those actually only get colored in if there's actually anything going on with the product itself. Now if we scroll down, we actually, this has the provisioning status. It shows showing the status of your config patterns, your operating systems, and your firmware updates. And then down below that is just showing the jobs. And then this one box here is just showing everyone who's actually logged into xClarity Administrator. And the reason why we put that there is customers wanted a ability to see everyone who was logged in. So if you're going to do something destructive like config patterns or firmware where you actually have to take a box down, you can warn somebody that, hey, don't mess with, chassis number 23 because I'm actually going to be working on it all day. And then here I'm just showing you how you can actually, if you don't want to see the provisioning status, you can kind of minimize them or maximize them as you need. And then almost every single screen has the Get Help. So if you click here, it'll actually open up, and then of course I get an error. It'll actually open up the help file. Just to give you, for full disclosure, this is actually a demo running on my laptop with demo hardware. So one of the questions that you do get when you install this the first time is the ability to get what we call demo hardware, which allows you to kind of simulate using this product without actually having to have a product to manage. So this is actually just running VMware Player on top of my laptop. So I don't know why the help didn't work, but it should. All right. So let's go to the flex chassis. So you can either go to the chassis the way I just did. Again, being a web-based tool, you can hit the back button, or you could actually go in through the hardware in the flex chassis, and then click on the chassis that you want to manage, and that'll bring up your chassis map. And this is similar to what we have in the CMM now, with the ability to have the overlays on top. So you have your warnings, so you can see all your warnings. The hover over still works. And you can actually go through and see the power status of the box, the asset tags, what firmware levels they're at, and whether or not they're in compliance or whether or not they have a compliance policy set, and then a configuration pattern if they have one assigned. And then you can kind of see down here, you have a summary view. So if you actually click on a machine, you'll actually bring down the summary view, and you can actually click on the details of that. And then what comes up from default is what we think that most customers would need, as far as a quick view, so you can actually see the host names, IP addresses, serial numbers, and things like that. If you actually want to dig down into the weeds, you can actually click on the inventory details, and you can find out how many drives are installed, how much memory is installed, things like that. And then you can also click here and see the alerts for the box, but this is a demo machine, so there's not a whole lot going on with it. If there's any active jobs, you can view here all the light path status. So let's say, for example, you had an issue with you got an error on a DIMM, but it didn't tell you what DIMM, you could actually go in here and see if the LED status is on, and that would actually show you what DIMM went bad. Power and thermal, it doesn't work in the demo mode, but it'll actually show you all the power and thermal information that's going on with that box. Configuration, that's your config patterns, but I'm going to show you that here in a second. And then the feature on demand keys just shows you, currently only shows you the currently installed FLD keys, and I'll have the ability to export those out. But currently there's no way to import the keys. That's actually going to come in a later release. And then the only other thing I want to show you on the machines is there is an actions button. So if you click on the action button, you can do show on chassis view. So what that's going to do is just bring you back to that chassis view. I'll show you here real quick. And it actually puts a blue box around it. So if you're actually working through the inventory view and you're trying to figure out where this machine resides inside a chassis, you can click on there. It'll allow you to resolve some untrusted certificates if you have that. You can launch the management module interface, so that's kind of a quick way to get into the IMM. You can edit the properties. You can launch your remote control from here. And then you have your normal power actions. You can shut it down, power off, restart going into setup, or just restart the IMM. And then on the Flex systems, we have what's called a service reset, which is a virtual reseat. Is actually just, it simulates pulling out the blade and putting it back in. So if you needed to do that, you could do that from here as well. So we did dashboard already. We kind of looked at that. The hardware is the all the hardware screen is just what I just showed you. It's either the chassis map or the ability to look at individual machines. We do have racks here now. The rack map is somewhat of a manual process, so you either have to go through and move the machines to where they're currently located by dragging them, dropping them, and then we have fillers and things like that you can put in there as well. But it is somewhat a manual process, but you could also, if you see right here where it says adding multiple devices to rack, there is a bulk import function, and of course the help is not working again. I don't know what I did to it. But when you click here, it'll actually give you an Excel file that you can go download, and will allow you to create these racks pretty easily through a spreadsheet, and then import them in. And then once that's created, you'll actually see the rack view, and you'll get whether it's green, yellow, red, and the status of the boxes inside of the rack. So that's something that's brand new that we've never done before. And then the only other thing here on hardware is the discovery. So there's for manual input, you can either do a single system, or you can actually do a range of IP addresses to go search for it. There's also this bulk import, and similar to the rack, it's just a template file that you can download in Excel or CSV format. And once you do that, you can actually go enter just the IP addresses of the IMMs and the CMMs and the model and serial number. And once you have all that loaded in the Excel spreadsheet, you can push all that information in at once, and makes it a whole lot easier. And then you can also put in, if you have standardized credentials for your management modules, your chassis management modules, and things like that, you can put all those in there as well. All right, so the next one is provisioning. So under provisioning, you can do all your configuration, your operating system deployments, and your firmware updates. So under config patterns, we'll click on that first. So the biggest thing here on config patterns is the new ability to actually create a pattern from an existing server. So what we're really highly recommending is not to change your day-to-day processes. So if your process was to set up a box and get it up and ready, and you know, you test it and you know that's giving you the right performance and so on and so forth. Set up the box the way that you're going to do it before doing profiles, and then you can actually click on this button. It will import all the configuration settings. So let's say, for example, you got a 3650. You're setting it up for Oracle, and you have it just the way you want it. You can import all those settings, give it a name, you know, Oracle DB2 3650 or something like that, and then deploy that across multiple 3650s without actually having to go through and answer the questions manually, which you still can do. So I'm going to kind of go through that real quick. So you can choose whether or not it's Flex or System X, and then you can, let's just give it a test name. Then you get a choice of your local storage, so you can specify storage configuration, keep your storage or configuration on target, or disable. So for this example, I'm just going to keep. You can go through here and add an I/O adapter. So for this one, I'm just going to add the NetExtreme 2 10 gig. And then you can actually choose a pattern, but I'm not going to go through that. But you could actually go through here and configure the I/O adapter as well. And once you have it configured, it will actually have a save pattern that you can choose multiple times. The boot order, really, most of the time it's going to be just to keep existing boot order, because you can only change the boot orders currently if you choose legacy. So most folks are still doing UEFI, so that doesn't really apply here. And then you can actually go through all the individual pieces, the system information, the contact information, things like that, management interfaces, which is the what the post names or the port names are, the interface settings, IP addresses, and things like that. And similar to the I/O adapters, you can actually save one. So let me just do this here real quick. So we'll just all right, so you can actually go and create one. So from now on, I can choose that pattern, and I won't have to enter that information time and time again. So one of the things we did add on the extended UEFI is we put in these patterns in here by default. So in this example, we're doing a rack machine, so it's M5. So let's say we're wanting to do virtualization on it. So I can choose the virtualization pre-programmed UEFI. Now let's say I like pretty much what Lenovo's recommending for virtualization, but not everything. You can always go in here and hit the edit and actually go through and change, you know, all the different settings that are in here. So and then you can either, you know, save it and make that the default M5 virtualization, or you can save as and make, you know, it being your own config pattern in there. One of the things, if you do import your settings in and you're not really sure on how to do the IMM or UEFI settings that you need to get, you know, the most performance out of your box, you may want to still import it in, but you could come in here to the extended UEFI and actually add this piece in here and actually give you some better performance. All right, so I shouldn't head back. I should save. And that's pretty much how easy it is to create a pattern. And then we also have what we call placeholder chassis. And so what a placeholder chassis will do is actually allows you to go create a chassis here, and then you can actually go through and assign config patterns to the 14 different bays. And then when the chassis comes in, you can point it towards it, and it will automatically populate it. The other option is when you go to deploy a pattern, you can actually go and find an empty slot in an existing chassis. Let me see where it's show empty base. So you could actually find one that's empty and deploy it, and then as soon as a node is pushed into that chassis, it will deploy the config pattern automatically as well. All right, so some other things here under config patterns is the ability to set up address pools. So a lot of this is for, it has the same functionality as the IBM Fabric Manager, the old IBM Fabric Manager, which basically allows you to virtualize your worldwide names, your MAC addresses, your and things like that. But you can also create pools in here to, as you're deploying operating systems or rolling out new systems itself, you can actually use the IP address pools here to have a set of a pool of addresses for setting up your CMMs and your IMMs and things like that. So you can kind of use this for both. And then last thing here I want to show you under config patterns too is remote control. I'm not going to click on it because it's going to open up a new screen, and I'm only sharing currently this screen. But the remote control is similar to what we had with the FSM, where you had the multiple tabs across the top and the ability to, select the icon and move pretty quickly from a remote control window to remote control window. So that's pretty similar to what we've had before. All right, so now we're going to move to operating systems. So I'm going to go to managing operating systems first. So by default, ESXi is going to be there. ESXi 6 will be there sometime, and should be in here in a little bit. But currently, right now, we're shipping with the ESXi 5.5 2.33 image. Let's say that the ESXi image comes out. All you got to do is click on the import. Choose the, browse on your computer, find the image file, but enter the checksum if you want to, or if necessary, put in the checksum value and import it. And that's basically how easy it is to import the operating systems into this product. So once you have it imported, then you can actually go through and select a machine. I'm going to have to put in that address or it won't let me deploy. Let's see. Oops, need a gateway. All right. So once you have that, you can actually click on here and deploy the images. It does allow you to do some global settings. So for RHEL and ESXi, you can put in the root password and the Windows password, or you can assign static IP or DHCP by default. For Windows, obviously, you can put in your license keys for either 2012 R1 or R2. And in Active Directory, if you have a configured Microsoft Active Directory setting, you can actually go and import the domain you want to join and the organizational unit and then we'll do all that for you as well. And once you do the global settings, that stays there every time you deploy. So once you can click on this, and I think it's going to give me an error. So it's asking for the password because I don't have one. And then I typed it in wrong. There we go. And then it'll, see this function is not available in demonstration systems. But basically, you would view everything that you're doing. It'll give you a status here real quick of all the IP addresses and things that you picked before. You hit deploy, and it would actually deploy it. And then it also gives you the option here to remote control. And what the remote control just lets you see the operating system deploying on the actual machine itself. All right, and that's pretty much it for operating systems. And then the last one here under provisioning is firmware updates. So we'll start with the repository first. And all right, so similar to what we have with the OS deployment, the firmware is going to be here without you having to do anything. So you can see here right now the repository is like 4.5 gig of a 21 gig total space. That's how much space they put in the OVA. But it has all the firmware that this product currently supports. If, for example, you don't have the 240, you can go in here and delete, the firmware that you don't want to save space. But if, let's say, you just wanted to update the Flex Chassis Management Module 7893, you can just go here and download selected, and it will actually go and download the latest and greatest for the, the 7893. And you can kind of see that the download status started there. It is the latest and greatest, so you can kind of see it said it was downloaded. Actually, it's right now on this version, it's actually a earlier version, and that's what is available on the web right now. The other thing you can do too is if you don't have the ability to access the internet, you can actually go download the individual firmware pieces or the UXSPs and import the actual firmware in the XML. So you just go through, you select the files, hit the import, and it will go through here and automatically update these as well. Okay, so now that you have the firmware pieces, we can do what's compliance policies. So right now there's only one default compliance policy, but there will be a couple in here when this product actually GAs. So there'll be one for the current version of Flex, and there'll be one for the UXSPs for the rack units. But you can go through here and view everything that's in here in the compliance policy, or you can actually just go and create your own. So again, you just give it a name, choose what system that you want to flash. So let's just go 240 M5 at 9532. And then you can choose what's the compliance rule. If you want to flag it as down level, flag if not an exact match, no flag at all. And then you go through and you actually choose the individual updates that you want it to be at. And that'll depend on what firmware you have in your repository. So right now I only have one. Well, this one actually has two of them. The exact same thing with two different dates. But the most of these only have one. So like for this example, because it is showing two, I can go change that and then go through and change, the compliance rule Once you have that, you just kind of hit create, and then now you have a compliance policy. So now that you got your firmware, you got your compliance policy, you can actually go through and check the compliance of the box. So this one right here is has a compliance policy. It's the default one, but it's saying it's not in compliance. So what I'm going to do here is tell it to perform the updates. I'm going to continue on error and immediate activation, which immediate activation and delayed activation is when the box is going to reboot. Because it is a demo environment, I'm just going to click on the simulated here. And then it'll go through here and perform all these updates, and then it should change the compliant to non-compliant. That's really how easy it is to actually do the firmware. You can do it one at a time, you can do them all, or you can go through and individually select which ones you want to go update to. Another thing here too is I can actually click on a machine and I can click on the critical information, release information, but it's not working. But what that would actually do is show you the all the critical defects that are being fixed by the firmware flash that you're looking to go push down. All right. So the last piece is administration. So administration is basically just the administration of the OVA itself, right? So it has some basic things like being able to shut down the management server or update the management server, so the update will actually update it to the newest version. So if a patch release would to come out for this product, you could actually just click on here and update it to the latest version. I'm going to click on security first. So the product has its own built-in LDAP where you can have you can set up your own usernames and groups, and your groups can be you can create as many groups as you want, and then give it a role here. And each role has, different options, and you can actually click on the help there and actually figure out what each one of those options are. That's one way of doing the management for the product. The other way is just using your existing LDAP. So you can actually go through here and choose allow logon for LDAPs, and then what you would do is figure out whether or not it's LDAP security, selection method, what's the server address and the ports for the different pieces, your bind parameters, and then if there is any additional parameters like your routine, you can enter all that. Then you would just hit apply, and then you would change over from the internal LDAP to the external. Account settings, it's just your normal, how long do you want to keep passwords around, what's the minimum reuse, right, the normal things like that. Cryptology, so this product is NIST compliant and FIPS compliant, but for NIST 800-131A, when you turn that on, it will actually encrypt everything, so all the communications between the nodes and the product itself will be encrypted, and then all the data that's stored will be encrypted. It does, it does allow you to do an exception for OS deployment feature because deploying encrypting a 2.5 gig Windows 2012 OS deployment is slow. So it does actually give you the ability to allow an exception there, and then you can actually choose between legacy on the SSL. You can either have 1.0 or 1.2, or you can restrict it to 1.2 only for your TLS mode. The one thing I would say about the NIST compliance is unless you actually absolutely have to have it, you may want to leave it off, because just with any product, when you're encrypting the 2048 or higher, there will be some performance hit. It's not great, but there is a performance hit that you take by turning on the encryption. Trusted certificates. So this is where you can actually go through here and enter your add your certificates. It's pretty self-explanatory, and then you can regenerate your certificate authorities and download a certificate authority if you have one. And then this is your revocation list, and then you can actually go through here and create, regenerate your certificate by, where you're at, your CSR information. You can actually upload your certificate, or you can actually go download your certificate, but it has, your full certificate management in here. All right. The next one down is just the date and time. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You can just go through here and edit. You do have the ability to set up a NTP server to go pull that information from. You can leave it default, or you can change it, and that will actually go pull the information from there. Network access. This is just the overall access of the product itself. If I hit edit here, you can kind of see here, Ethernet 1 is always used for the appliance itself. Ethernet 1 you have to go set up if you want to deploy operating systems. So if you ever load this product and for whatever reason you get a operating systems deployment is not available at this time on your dashboard screen, 99.9% of the time it's because the Ethernet 1 is not set up. So you just kind of go through here, select up your Ethernet 1 here, choose what the IP address is, and hit save, and it will allow you to deploy operating systems. And then the last piece here is the service and support. So this will actually allow you to view and download your first failure data capture, or download the logs, and it'll allow you to download it, and then ability to actually send that off to service as well. And then the endpoint diagnostic files, which we haven't done on these products yet. On the demo mode. The call home, it does have the ability to call home, so you can click here and enable call home. Similar to the setup that we have with the CMM. You just go through here, enter your company name, your information, email address, and the other particulars, and just hit apply. Once you hit apply and you set it up, any PMR that's created by the tool itself will be in here, and you can actually kind of see what the last update is and what the status of it is. Also, once you turn on call home, you can actually go to endpoint actions, and you can actually perform a call home test. We'll actually test out to make sure that you can actually reach service and get a reply back. And then the other one is to manually open a service ticket. So that will actually allow you to manually open a service ticket. So, for example, some memory errors aren't a what we call a serviceable event, which means that it will not call home. But you think there's a problem with the box, you can go through and you say, I keep getting these ECC errors on my particular box, and then you can go and import all those things without actually having to call anyone or go to the website. You can just go and manually open a service ticket. If you manually open a service ticket here, it will show you your problem recording status here. So that's kind of one of the advantages of doing it that way. And then the last piece in here, you can kind of see here, I don't know why it's not red, but it says do not change these unless the the service center asks you to go do it, but you can actually go through and change the log sizes and pieces like that. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard here real quick. Across the top on here on the top screen, you can actually kind of see the status that stays there no matter where you kind of move in the product, and then the status of all the jobs if the jobs are running. If you actually click there, it will actually show you what jobs are running. Oh, I jumped to administration, skip monitoring. So let me go to monitoring here real quick. So monitoring is the actual monitoring of your boxes. So that's your alerts, your event logs, where you can do your event forwarding and then this job screen. So we'll go click on alerts first. So anything that's in a table format like this, you can actually move the tables back and forth. You can click on the little gear. You can add things in. You can move things, take things away. So say I'm not worried about the date. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't be system type. You can do that and it goes away. Or you can always just go back and hit restore defaults. Here you can, when you exclude alerts, you can exclude them on all systems or on certain machines. And then you can also go through here and say, all I want to do is see the critical alerts. You click on the informational and warnings, and they will go away. And then another way to filter is right down here. You can see we have this SSL issue, so I can actually just type SSL, and you don't even have to hit enter as you type. It kind of just goes there. So I just type SSL. It shows me only issues that actually have SSL in any of these boxes here. So if you knew, the machine was what the machine serial number was, and you just wanted to go find that out, you can actually look it up that way as well. Last thing here is everyone also that's in a table format like this, you have the export to CSV. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of when I hovered over it shows you to it. But it opens a new window when it downloads, so I really won't be able to show it to you. But it will actually download not only what's on the screen, but if you have a log file that's 1,500 deep, it will actually go download all 1,500 of them, and it will download the way you have it, the tables or the columns that you have set up on the screen. So if you want to get more information or less information on what you're going to actually export, you can actually go through here, customize the columns, and then do the export. Event logs, a lot more information in here, but the event logs you can kind of see basically the same capabilities that we had in the alerts. Somewhere here we have a filter, so I did some changes to ET80, so you can see DHCP address was changed for the different pieces. And that's the event log, and then the audit log. You can see, basically every time I ever logged into this thing. All right. The next one is the event forwarding. So for event forwarding, we have 3 different ways you can event forward. So you can do syslog, SNMP, or email. I'm going to choose email because it's the easiest. So I'm just going to give it a name. What the host address is of the actual SNMP server, and then who the recipients are. And then you click on next. You can go through and choose all the systems, or you can go through and say, really, I'm only interested in this one and this one, and click next. And then you have 2 choices. You can either include all audit events, meaning basically everything that comes to them will be pushed in through, or you can say, I'm only interested in the critical But even on a critical, I'm really not that interested in memory errors because they seem to happen. And then I'm not worried about the expansion errors. And you hit create, and so now every time alert happens on those two boxes, it will actually go through and send a email to myself. And then, of course, you can do that for, you know, syslog, SNMP as well, right, with the same granularity. All right. And then the last one is jobs, which we kind of already went through and showed. So this is the we downloaded the update packages. It's showing that it was complete. And then again, you can export it. You can do things here like cancel it or delete because the job's done. So if I wanted to keep this screen clean, I could actually go through here, click on delete the job, and it's gone. And then similar, you can go filter if you're trying to go find a specific job that you created. And that's it basically for the product. I know it was a lot in a very short period of time. I didn't see any questions in the chat. I was going to try to leave 10 minutes if there was any questions. Is there any questions from the guys on the webinar?
Yep, I've got quite a few questions to go through. Were you going to cover product licensing? Were you going to show a slide on that?
So I can talk through it. I don't have a slide readily available. So the product licensing is, and by licensing you mean cost?
The cost and how it's licensed, yep.
Okay. So it's licensed per managed server. It's $200 per managed server, or 2,000 hours per chassis. But it's not like the FSM when we did the per chassis license. It's an either or. So you can either do a 2,000 per chassis, but if you have a chassis and it only has 4 machines in it, then you can do 4 individual licenses. You're not forced to do the chassis license. And we also have what we call the xAdministrator Pro, which is xClarity Administrator, which I just demoed now, and the upward integration modules into VMware and Microsoft. And so that piece is at $350 or $3,500 per chassis. And we also now offer a 1, 3, and 5 year on both those offerings. So you can either get it with 1 year service and support, 3 years service and support, or 5 years.
And the cost you mentioned previously per chassis and per server, those are 1 year licensing, correct?
Those are, everything I mentioned was 1 year, correct?
Okay. And one of our configurators out there, partners out there, asked about the chassis SKU not showing up in SSCT. Is that forthcoming?
It should be there. It actually should be by default. If you go to purchase a chassis right now, it should default this.
Okay.
And
that's
SSCT,
under the chassis configuration of Flex. Okay. And then one of the other, somebody else out there asked about Blade Center support, and that is not planned or intended, correct? Within
correct.
xClarity?
So we need a CMM for the Flex stuff to work, and so really, you know, to kind of give you an overview of what we're looking for the future on this product is really the next release we're kind of focused in bringing in the ThinkServer line. And then we still have, you know, because this tool is going to be eventually managing everything that we sell. So we have the Tool Center line we need to bring in. We have the Next Scale line we need to bring in. We have Broadwell machines coming out here at the beginning of next year. So really by the time we get all the stuff that we needed to do that we're currently selling right now, we realistically wouldn't get the blades until after we stop selling them. So we kind of made a decision to Blades is not going to be supported, but basically everything that we sell going forward will be supported, except for a few boxes that we may release that are like IPMI only, because we have some now that are that way. You know, obviously because they have a very limited service processor and management capabilities, we won't be able to actually manage those boxes. But except for those few exceptions, everything that we sell, we will manage.
Okay, I'll answer a couple of these other ones that came through, but power nodes are not currently supported, or not, and no intention of being supported going forward. Correct?
Well, so the power nodes will show up, and any alert information that is pushed to the CMM, because the way this product works is it actually talks directly to the CMM IMM, so it can pull the power stuff and get the alerts, and that's really the extent of being able to manage a power server. But we actually designed this product when we were still over at IBM. So if you have a customer, or if you are a customer that has a mixed environment, you can actually run HMC and this product xClarity managing the same chassis without any issues. So the power, HMC will manage the power resources, and xClarity will manage the x86 resources.
Okay, and then within the chassis, does it require CMM2, or will CMM version 1 work?
CMM1 is fine. The only reason why you would ever need to move to CMM2, and this is not just the xClarity statement, but just the CMM statement, is if you're moving to the new Lenovo branded switches, or the next hardware that would require you to move to the CMM2, it will be Broadwell, which doesn't come out until first quarter next year. So there's really no reason to move from CMM1 to CMM2.
Okay. And then purchasing the chassis license, the full-on chassis license, covers all 14 nodes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. There is one of the questions was around YouTube video for System Center integration. There is if you go to YouTube and you type in xClarity, you can see a large number of different sections of demos for xClarity. So if you wanted to see something just on provisioning or monitoring, there are different sections out there that were done by one of our briefing center folks.
Right, and the integration into Microsoft and VMware is forthcoming on YouTube, but the EVC team hasn't actually done those videos yet. But we are planning on doing that, and that's actually a good point, because I forgot to mention that. So on our integrators, which is what we're renaming the UIMs. But for the integrators for VMware and Microsoft, when this product comes out on 4/30, you'll actually be able to see the chassis map and deploy config patterns from either Microsoft System Center or through VMware. And really the plan is over time, right, because this is that strategy of pushing things up instead of trying to push everything down. Inside of the vCenter console, you'll be able to do every single thing that you can do on this screen here, right? So if you wanted to live your whole life inside of the vCenter console and never come down to this console, you would be able to do that.
Okay. And then like an FSM, it requires the OS to be installed. Does the xClarity require an OS to be installed in order to install firmware updates?
We don't require an OS, nor do we care what OS it is.
Okay.
It's completely bare metal, and if you're running something that we don't currently support, like Oracle's Enterprise Linux, everything will work. Everything is completely out of band. We can't deploy the OS. We don't deploy Oracle Enterprise Linux, but as far as doing firmware updates, the monitoring, the alerts, the firmware updates, all those pieces, it's all out of band. We really don't care what the underlying operating system is.
And for the OS image deployment, does it it require or it supports ESXi, Red Hat, and Windows at this time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. xClarity checks in with the IMM every 30 minutes by default, correct?
I don't know what the exact polling is. I think 30 minutes sounds a little long.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was every 30 minutes, and then they're looking at allowing users or administrators to change that going forward in future releases, correct?
That one I'm not sure of. But if you say 30 minutes, then I'll go with that.
Does the xClarity allow administrators to change all the IMM management passwords? And can it be done on a global scale?
You can do it either through the internal LDAP, right through the security settings here, or probably the more preferred is to have an LDAP server, and then you can set up your IMM and CMM to point to that as well, right? So that's really your two choices.
Okay. In the patterns, does it automatically enumerate the host names?
It pulls the. So let me bring up the all servers here. So this one you can go through and you can actually change the name, but it pulls the server name here is pulled from the host name itself. So I think the default host name is like the model and serial. But anything that you change the host name to, it will actually show up here. I can't show it, edit here because it's a demo machine, but on a real machine, you can actually go through and edit this if you wanted to do it through this tool, or you can just do it when you set up the box.
Okay, and GA is the 30th?
4/30. 30th.
Okay.
7 days.
A partner with the BPIC is asking if it's possible to get the OS version open so the product can be utilized for customer demos, POCs, against their demo, Earflex chassis, so not that they be able to utilize their BPIC hardware in order to.
Oh, yeah, well, most definitely. So so when you load this, even when a customer loads it the first time, it'll give them the ability to whether or not they want the demo machines. And really the reason why we did that is so you could just do it and load it on your laptop and demo it, right? If you wanted to demo it quickly to a customer without actually having to do a whole, VPN into a BPIC or into, Lenovo location to go do that. But you can totally choose not to do that. It's going to be full. As far as getting the business partners to code, we're still trying to figure that one out. The issue is because it's got the firmware and the ESXi, the image itself runs in a little north of 6 gig. So it's not something I can just go put on a normal website, because if you get any hiccups on a HTTP download, then you got to start all over again. So I literally have like 8 or 9 days to go figure that out, but we're actively working on it. But our plan is to have the ability where the business partners can go download this so they can actually demo it in their BPICs, and it'll be a full, non-unrestricted license.
Somebody asked about if it utilizes a slot in like the FSM does. It's actually a virtual appliance. So I'm sure
right, it's a virtual appliance, and it's an OVA. You plug it into your existing VMware or Microsoft environment.
technically, someone can run it locally on a laptop or desktop with a player, if you will.
I'm running it on my laptop right now.
Yeah. Let's see here. In Director, somebody mentioned that you could deal with drivers in the OS to see if the RAID controller was getting errors or errors on the local drives. It's available here on xClarity.
So so the machines that we manage are the M5 machines, the 3650, 3550 M5 machines, and then all the Flex. So all those machines have got what we call the RAID link. So the RAID link actually allows all that inventory and alert information to get pushed to the IMM. So we actually don't need that driver piece, right? So literally, what we're using here is IMM and the CMM as a central hub for all the inventory alerts. Eventually, the firmware, because we can flash all of our components through the IMM and CMM. Eventually, once MCTP protocol gets a little bit more baked, we'll be able to do all the PCI devices, but you don't have to worry about the drivers anymore. And really, the whole driver thing is kind of going away, right? Especially with like ESXi. So the drivers that are loaded it doesn't really matter to this product. It pulls all the information out of the IMM.
Okay, let's see here. Can you do OS employments on SAN boot or USB keys?
So for ESXi, it'll do it on the hard drives or USB. The SAN is something we're looking to add in a future release, potentially. I mean, a lot of what this product is to try to get the machine up and running. But the SAN one is a little bit more difficult than just deploying to local disk and that. So, but we are looking at that for a future release.
Okay, just enumerating some more questions here. For existing FSM customers, any reason to migrate to xClarity?
If the customer is happy, right, with FSM, then no. I mean, they actually get, especially if they're using the networking and the storage, or if they're in a hybrid environment and they're using it to manage their, power and x86 through one console, then no, there's really no reason for them to move. What I will say, if they are current on their FSM, they are entitled to this product day one. So on April 30th, they'll actually get an email from Passport Advantage that will say that there's a new entitlement in their Passport Advantage account. They go in there and log in into their Passport Advantage account to actually see an entitlement for this product. So they can move. But there's really nothing forcing them to move.
Okay, and then somebody asked to explain the differences between basic administrator and the pro version. I know you touched on that, but in my 2 cents, it would be the integration software, such as the vCenter and SCCM integration.
Right. There's no basics. So there's xClarity. So xClarity is kind of like a family name. So xClarity Administrator is this product that I just demoed. And then xClarity Integrator, right? So we have an xClarity Integrator for VMware, xClarity Integrator for Microsoft. That's what used to be called the UIMs. And then the only other product currently is what we're calling xClarity Pro. And what the Pro is a combination of xClarity Administrator, which is this tool, and the two integrators, which is VMware and Microsoft.
Mm-hmm. You knew this question was coming. Is there an FSM buyback, or can we rebuild it to use it as a regular node?
So, so the buyback is going to be handled on a per geo basis, but as far as I know, in North America, I don't think there is one. And as far as using it as a node, it won't be supported. Technically can kind of be done. The problem with the FSM node is it actually has a networking card that's soldered down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to go turn that piece off. So, and it has a bunch of specialized networking for, you know, talking into the internal management network. So technically, I guess you could reuse it, but I think that the support team's not going to support it. So, you know, long way of saying no, there's no buyback, and no, there's not a good way to go reuse the node.
Okay, and then just to jump back a few questions, somebody did find that it was available in the chassis. The xClarity licensing was showing up, so we're good to go.
Okay.
Just to touch on that, you do need to have the latest in SCCT. You need to have the latest version 1.60 and the pricing file. So. And the demo, I'll reiterate on this one. Then the question came up again, actually a couple more times. So the demo mode is basically if you download the xClarity software from the website when it becomes available on the 30th or the day after or so forth, when you're installing the xClarity software, you'll have the ability to choose a checkbox that says load demo, something to the effect of load demo equipment, and it will actually, just like Chuck's shown here, it'll actually show up just like that with the
Right.
chassis, 14 servers, 14 nodes, if you will, and so forth.
That's correct. And you have a choice of turning it on and turning it off, and you can still turn it on and then go and unmanage or delete the demo machines, and it's a full product. Even when it's in demo mode, it's still a full product. It just gives you machines without actually having to have any machines to manage. If I've always to plug this into a network that had you know, machines that this product could manage, it would auto discover them and it would start populating them. So it's a full tool. It just has some demo machines in there so you can actually see it or actually use it without having it actually be connected to anything.
Yeah. Looks like we got one more question, unless another one comes in, but for a demo system or even, I guess, non-demo system, if somebody purchases licensing for 2 nodes, call them rack servers, will xClarity still show the flex switches and the chassis management? So on your
Yes.
dashboard, I suppose. So
Yes.
the flex chassis, flex switches, flex storage, those will always show no matter how
They'll just be
minimal your
there, like
environment is.
the storage right now. It'll have a 0. There's we are looking at potentially having like a gearbox, like right here in the next release, where you'll be able to go turn those on and off, because this question comes up a lot. So we are looking to have kind of like the ability to turn on and off columns and the alerts and stuff like that, being able to turn on and off the hardware status depending on what you have.
Okay, looks like that's the last of the questions. Any closing thoughts you'd like to add, Chuck?
The closing thought is again, you know, the old strategy was kind of like push everything down. This strategy is pushing everything up. A lot of what we're going to be doing here from a push-up strategy is based around VMware, so there's going to be a lot of work that we're doing with the vRealize product, and of course the VMware vCenter product. But the idea over time is to build up an ecosystem of not just virtualization platforms that we support, but management and cloud and orchestration platforms. So depending on what layer that you want to go live in, whether it's the vCenter layer or if you want to live in an orchestrated layer or a cloud layer, that you would be able to fully manage this box. Fully manage your box from that console, and that's going to be, you know, working with the API set that, you know, we've integrated into this product. So, you know, once this product goes out the door, we're going to be doing a lot of work with vendors, trying to pick some OpenStack vendors and some more orchestration vendors and things like that. So really allows your customers to choose what platform that they want to live in on a day-to-day basis, and then be able to fully manage their box from that platform.
Great. Well, thanks again, Chuck, for your time, and thanks everybody for attending. If you have any more questions or want to take a deeper dive into the product or licensing or what have you, just follow up with your local Lenovo sales rep, and they have all the tools and information to provide. So with that, I'll go ahead and close the call. Stay tuned for the next invite from the x86 Virtual User Group for May, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks again.